The Basilica of Santa Maria in Trastevere is a titular minor basilica in the Trastevere district of Rome, and one of the oldest churches of Rome. The basic floor plan and wall structure of the church date back to the 340s, and much of the structure to 1140–43. The first sanctuary was built in 221 and 227 by Pope Calixtus I and later completed by Pope Julius I. The church has large areas of important mosaics from the late 13th century by Pietro Cavallini. History. The inscription on the episcopal throne states that it is the first church dedicated to Mary, Mother of Jesus. Although some claim that privilege belongs to the Basilica di Santa Maria Maggiore, in its founding it is certainly one of the oldest churches in the city. A Christian house church was founded here about 220 by Pope Saint Calixtus I on the site of the Taberna Meritoria, a refuge for retired soldiers. The area was given over for Christian use by the Emperor Alexander Severus when he settled a dispute between the Christians and tavern keepers, saying, according to the Liber Pontificalis, I prefer that it should belong to those who honor God, whatever be their form of worship. In 340 Pope Julius I rebuilt the Titulus Calixti on a larger scale, and it became the Titulus Iulii commemorating his patronage. One of the original 25 parishes in Rome, indeed it may be the first church in which Mass was celebrated openly. It underwent two restorations in the 5th and 8th centuries. In 1140–43 the church was re-erected on its old foundations under Pope Innocent II. Innocent II razed the church to the ground, along with the recently completed tomb of the antipope Anacultus II, his former rival. Innocent II arranged for his own burial on the spot formerly occupied by the tomb. The richly carved Ionic capitals reused along its nave were taken either from the ruins of the Baths of Caracalla or the nearby Temple of Isis on the Janiculum, whence scholarship during the 19th century identified the faces in their carved decoration as Isis, Serapis and Harpocrates. A restoration under Pius IX in 1870 hammered off the offending faces. The predecessor of the present church was probably built in the early 4th century, although that church was the successor to one of the tituli, those early Christian basilicas that were ascribed to a patron and perhaps literally inscribed with his name. Although nothing remains to establish with certainty where any of the public Christian edifices of Rome before the time of Constantine the Great were situated. The basilica on this site was known as Titulus Callista, based upon a legend in the Liber Pontificalis which ascribed the earliest church here to a foundation by Pope Calixtus I, whose remains, translated to the new structure, are preserved under the altar. Interior. The present nave preserves its original basilica plan and stands on the earlier foundations. The 22 granite columns with Ionic and Corinthian capitals that separate the nave from the aisles came from the ruins of the Baths of Caracalla, as did the lintel of the entrance door. Inside the church are a number of late 13th century mosaics by Pietro Cavallini on the subject of the life of the Virgin, centering on the coronation of the Virgin in the apse. Domenichino's octagonal ceiling painting, Assumption of the Virgin, fits in the coffered ceiling setting that he designed. The fifth chapel to the left is the Avila Chapel designed by Antonio Gherardi. This, and his Chapel of S. Cecilia and San Carlo I Catenaria, two of the most architecturally inventive chapels of the late 17th century in Rome. The lower order of the chapel is fairly dark and employs Borromina-like forms. In the dome, there is an opening or oculus from which four putta emerge to carry a central tempieta, all of which frames a light-filled chamber above, illuminated by windows not visible from below. The church keeps a relic of Saint Apollonia, her head, as well as a portion of the Holy Sponge. Among those buried in the church are the relics of Pope Calixtus I, Pope Innocent II, Antipope Anacultus II, Cardinal Philippe of Alençon and Cardinal Lorenzo Campeggio. Exterior. The Romanesque campanile is from the 12th century. Near the top, the niche protects a mosaic of the Madonna and Child. The mosaics on the facade are believed to be from the 12th century. They depict the Madonna enthroned and suckling the Child, flanked by 10 women holding lamps. This image on the facade showing Mary nursing Jesus is an early example of a popular late medieval and Renaissance type of image of the Virgin. The motif itself originated much earlier, with significant 7th century Coptic examples at Wadi Natron in Egypt. The facade of the church was restored by Carlo Fontana in 1702, who replaced the ancient porch with a sloping tiled roof, seen in Faldas view, with the present classicizing one. The octagonal fountain in the piazza in front of the church, which already appears in a map of 1472, was restored by Carlo Fontana. The titulus. Ancient sources maintain that the titulus S. Mariae was established by Pope Alexander I around 112. Later traditions give the names of the early patrons of the tituli and have retrospectively assigned them the title of cardinal. Thus at that time, the cardinal patron of this basilica, these traditions assert, would have been Saint Calipodius. Pope Calixtus I confirmed the titulus in 221. To honor him it was changed into S's. Callistae Luliani, it was renamed S. Mariae Transtiberem by Innocent II. By the 12th century, cardinal deacons as well as the presbyters had long been dispensed from personal service at the tituli. Among the past cardinal priests holding the honorary titulus of Santa Maria in Trastevere have been the Cardinal Duke of York. Is visible over the screen to the right of the altar, James Gibbons, Pope Leo XII and Joseph Glemp. The incumbent cardinal priest is Laurus Francesco Capovilla, the oldest living cardinal. Significant events. In July 2014, the wedding of Prince Amadeo of Belgium, Archduke of Austria-Este and Elisabetta Rosbosch von Wolkenstein was held at the Basilica.